Great. So nested collections. We're going to talk about explore working with nested data structures. So in nested data structures, like if we have an array inside of an array, or a hash inside of an array, or vice versa, an array inside of a hash, or a hash inside of a hash. And this can go down, like be infinitely nested. So we want to really build on our basics, our foundations of how we traverse arrays and hashes, because we're just going to use those foundations to explore more complex data structures. And we'll talk about some strategies and thought process for how we can do this, because it can get confusing. So I'm going to put a warm-up in your channel, and while you're doing the warm-up, I'll create the thread. I did see there was some like parking lot questions in the thread from last discussion, so thank you. I think the instructors still need to decide how we're going to handle that, but I think throughout the day, when we have time, the instructors will be able to go back through that thread and answer those parking lot questions and the relevant questions also. Not that parking lots are not relevant, but okay. So your warm-up is up. Either put it in a text editor or jot it in a notebook. Either way I think is fine, but a text editor, of course, you could play with Pry and try it out. So let's take about 3 minutes for you to go through that warm-up exercise. Okay, so, right, okay. So why are we going over this again, right? We've talked about hashes, we've talked about arrays 1,010 times, right? But the foundational knowledge of how we traverse these data structures, how we access the data in these data structures, how we manipulate them, this is the same thing we're going to use for this entire lesson. So if this warm-up felt shaky at all or didn't feel quick, I very, very much encourage you to go do again the Ruby exercises for arrays and hashes. Even if you've already done it, erase it, do it again, because you want to get really, really good at this foundational knowledge so you can continue to build on it for more and more complex structures. Okay, you're going to see we're going to work with more complex. I cannot talk today, friends. We'll work with more structures today, but in mod 2 and especially in mod 3, you're going to be working with some pretty nested data structures, and you want to be able to comfortably traverse those data structures. So let's just talk about a couple of these examples. I don't want to go through all of them because I want to get you in breakout rooms to actually play with some of this stuff. But Hannah, I don't think I called on you at all last time, so I want to give you an opportunity to share as well. If we have this animals hash, how did you, let me just put a Pry and run this, but take me through those 3 warm-up steps. Like how we accomplish returning the amount of dogs we have. How would we do that with this hash?
Okay, so animals, and then in the brackets, I put dogs.
Like this?
And then I put dot count.
Okay. So question for you. What is, if we didn't have the dot count, what is going to be the return value of this statement here? If we have the name of the hash and we query a key, what will be the return value of this statement?
Oh, actually, that would be the number of dogs.
Yeah, because generally speaking, right, when we query a hash by a key, then the return value is the value of that key, right? Awesome. Yeah, if we would have tried dot count, I think it would, actually, I'm glad we're doing this. What's the error we would get? Or would we get an error? And I'm not just asking you, Hannah, I'm asking everybody. Okay, think to yourself, like, what would be the error that we get for this? Let's see. Undefined method count for an integer. Okay, because remember how Ruby does its chaining. It evaluates this first method first, because that bracket notation is a method, and returns the value, which is an integer, and then it tries to call this method on that object. Well, .count is not a known method for an integer, so we get that error. Okay, and this concept of thinking about what is the return value, I'm going to say this probably a million times today because it's so important that you always think about that, especially when we start working on nesting. Okay, Hannah, thank you so much for helping me there. John K, I don't have multiple Johns, so John, how about the next thing? Like if I want to add 3 parakeets to this animals array, how would I do that?
So since we don't have any parakeets, just animals, bracket, per parakeets in quotes, equals 3.
Yeah, perfect. And now if we check our animals array, I'm sorry, our animals hash, parakeets exist, right? So this structure or this pattern of taking the key and assigning it to a value is going to set that key value pair inside of our hash. What if we did this? Because parakeets does exist now, right? So maybe John, if you're still off mute with me, well, I mean, can you press off mute?
No, I'm no longer off mute.
Okay, thank you. What would happen now if I press enter?
You overwrite the value.
Yes, great. I'm glad you said that word. We overwrite it, we replace it, right? Because we can only have one unique key per hash. So if it says, oh, this key already exists, but I see you're reassigning it to 9, it's going to overwrite it. Awesome. Thank you so much, John. And then how about Megan, if you want to help me with the last one, if I want to increase the amount of cats I have by 2, how are we going to accomplish that one?
Can I pass?
Absolutely. Let's phone a friend. How about Jose? Jose, if I want to add 2 cats to this hash, how do I do that?
You'll do animals, brackets, cats, plus equals 2.
Yes. Perfect. Oh gosh, what did I do? I forgot my quotation marks. Darn it. That's always fun. Let's run this again. So animals, cats. I don't know why I didn't use symbols for these. That would be so much easier. 2. And now our animals hash has 7 instead of 5 cats. So perfect. So if we want to add to it, we just actually take the current value and reassign the key to the, let me show it the long way. So if we had animals, cats, right, we are reassigning it to the current value of animals, cats. I cannot type today. Plus 2. Right, so this will return 5. We're adding 2 to it. So this whole side evaluates to 7. And now this is just a reassignment of that key to 7, just like we saw with reassigning the parakeets to 9. Awesome. Any questions about those hash methods? Okay. And okay, let's go through the array methods really quick. I don't want to spend too much time here, but I want to go over these just to make sure that this method, oops, that's not where I meant to put it. Oh, we can put it there, that's fine. All right, so we've got our pet names. Cheryl, if you want to help me, how would I add Claude to pet names?
I would do pet names and then the shovel and then the name that you want to add.
Yeah, awesome.
Quotes, yeah.
So we'll add Claude. Awesome. And now how would I access, Cheryl, if you'll just help me with all these real quick, if you don't mind, how would I access the first element of my pet names array?
Pet names and then bracket 0.
Awesome. I like that. So we can use bracket notation. We can also do like a dot first, right? Either way, totally fine. And how about for accessing the last name on the list?
I guess pet names, I did the bracket with -1, but I guess you could also do dot last.
Yeah, I'm fine with either way. So pet names dot 1 or pet names dot last. Perfect. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I'm not going to go over the last one. Any questions though, just about hashes or arrays and how we traverse those? Okay. You ready to explore some really fun nested data structures? We'll start slow and we'll slowly build. Okay, so we're going to do breakout rooms. I put the tasks in your Slack channel. So again, I'm going to have one person screen share. And then you'll work through those tasks and we'll come back together to discuss your solutions. Okay? All right, have fun. Breakout rooms are open.
Okay, this time I didn't get
No, they're not
assigned one.
open. I misspoke. You have to press the button, it turns out. Zoom recording. Great. Okay, let's talk about what you did. What questions came up? I hope you're noticing a pattern of how we're working today. We're going to do our breakout rooms and really explore, and then come back with some questions. So I would love to hear from a couple groups, either something that felt fuzzy or unclear, or something you got it working, but you have no idea why that was the answer, or an insight you had, something that was curious or surprising. No one had any revelations. I'm surprised.
It was surprising pizza only got tasty.
Okay. Thank you, John. Wait, someone was talking about how I keep stressing and talking about return values. Which group was talking about that? Because I would love for you to say more. I think was it. If I see your face, I'm going to know who it was. I just can't remember who it was. Okay. It's okay if you don't help me today. So here's what I appreciate about a couple of the groups who were really taking the time to go through the group members and answer the questions and make those assumptions. So for example, the numbers one, we said, or the group would say, okay, what is numbers.count going to be? And everyone made a guess and an assumption before the driver pressed enter to see and test those assumptions. So I very much appreciate those conversations, because even if when you think you know the answer, hearing someone else's perspective on why they think the answer is different can really contribute to your knowledge growth. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the food feelings then. Oh, I already had it. Just kidding. Okay, so when let's talk about the food feelings.count from that first one. And Eugene, can you tell me a little bit about what this is going to be and why?
Yeah, so because we're calling count on food feelings, that's the outer array that kind of surrounds this grouping of hashes.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to count the elements inside that outer array, and so it's going to be 2.
Yes, exactly, because we're acting on that outer array, just as you mentioned, and all we're doing is count, and .count for an array just counts our elements. And no matter what's inside of this hash, this is still just one element of our array. So 2 is correct. Awesome. Great job. Let's hear for the next one from Jesse. What's the answer to the next one? Hold on, let me copy paste it here so we can all see it. If we're looking for food feelings .first.count, what will be the answer to this one and why? Actually, I just put it in my pray.
Yeah, I'm glad you called on me here, because we had a little back and forth in guessing what would be the results of this. we weren't sure if this would count the key separately and the value separately and return 2, or return 1 for the key value pair. And so I know what the answer is. We got 1, but I'm assuming that it's returning the number of key value pairs.
That's correct. So when we call the count on a hash, it returns the number of key value pairs, right? Absolutely. Because you can't have a key without a value in our hash. And we can't have a value without our key. So it's counting those pairs. So, and here's where that discussion on return values really comes into play, right? If we think about how Ruby works when we chain methods, food feelings dot first, Will, I just see your face smiling at me right now. So if you can kind of help me, what does food feelings dot first return to us?
That'll return the first element in that array, which is that hash.
Yeah.
Pizza and tasty.
Exactly. So this is the return value of this first method. And so our dot count, hoping you can all see my highlighting okay. The dot count now is going to act on that return value. And as we saw from our discussion with Jesse, dot count on a hash returns the number of key value pairs. So that's why we're getting 1. Awesome. Any questions about that? About those two tasks? Okay. How about Mike? Can you help walk me through the next one where if I have my food feelings here, how can I access the value of also tasty? Oh, this said element. I meant that to say value. So I apologize. I didn't word that correctly. How can I access the value of also tasty?
We could go food feelings, square bracket, 0, and then another square bracket, and we put the key of tasty, which is pizza. Oh, the colon, I mean. And pizza, and then close it off.
Okay. Do you remember what this data type's called?
It's a key.
It is a key of our array, but when we see that symbol in Ruby, what do we call that? Do you remember? It starts with an S.
A symbol?
Yeah, there you go. So a symbol of pizza.
Cool.
Perfect. So walk me through your logic of if this is going to work.
Yeah. So food feelings is the variable that holds the data type, and then with the 0 indice, that then like identifies or targets the first element of that array, which is our hash. But since it's identified as a pair, we want to then call the key to bring back the value.
Yes. Oh, except this returns tasty. I think we wanted also tasty. So what's the tweak can we make?
Could we do instead of pizza calzone?
There. Yes. Oh, I cannot highlight here. Calzone. Yep. Oh, I don't know how to type. Oh, what did I do wrong?
Oh,
I did spell right.
Change the 0 to 1.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah, perfect. And actually, I'm kind of glad we made that mistake so we could really see how we were accessing that. And that was a great explanation, right? So again, it's thinking about the return value of each statement. Our food feelings is our array. We're accessing the element at index 1, which is our second element. And then we're going to take the return value of that hash and query the key of calzone. Great job. All right, any other questions? Because we're going to, and then we're going to do some more. Actually, no, we're going to do one together. So any other questions before we do this next one together? Did not want the pray. All right, so the next structure, we're going to work with a hash within a hash. If I make this a little bigger, it's a little easier to see. There we go. Garrett, question?
Yeah, so I didn't realize we were moving on from these samples. I was curious about the last one.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't quite get to that in our group, and I seem to be doing it wrong on my end. So I was curious if we could go over that before moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the last piece of that was if we want to change also tasty to super delicious, right? Garrett, can you actually walk through this with me?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. What if we had this? If this was our, say we have a variable called description, and I have a lot of stuff going on here. And this was our hash. And if we wanted to change this value to super delicious, how would I do that just right here?
I just do descriptions, then in brackets, calzone is a symbol, equals also tasty in quotes, or whatever the new thing is that we wanted to change it to in quotes.
Super delicious. Yeah. Exactly. Perfect. So let's use this knowledge, this foundational knowledge, and try to access it here. We're kind of going backwards. So if I know if I have this hash, I can just perform this action. How do I grab a hold of this hash from my food feelings array?
So what I thought, and this is like kind of the direction I went when I was trying to do it on my own, I did food feelings in brackets 1 to access the second element, which would be the hash with calzone in it. And then I tried to kind of do so I did food feelings brackets 1, and then I did brackets calzone equals super delicious, but that's not it's giving me an error. Oh, okay. You do it outside of I did the whole thing in the brackets. Got it. Okay.
Oh, I see. You moved to this. You did that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, you were right on here, right? So this accessing food feelings at your the element 1, it's the second one, will return to you this hash, and then you call the key on it just like you did down here on line 22, and then set it equal to the new value.
Yeah, makes sense when you put them side by side. Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I'm gonna lower your hand, and then let's go on to our pets. My pets hash. It's not called a hash. It's a nested hash, but all right. So let's walk through this again. Actually, I want to make sure that that's in here. So I've got my pets hash here. If I do pets.count, take a second, make a guess in your head. What is pets.count going to return to me? Okay, everyone have a guess? I'm going to press enter and let's see if your guess was correct. 2. Sydney, why did it return 2 for pets.count?
Because there's 2 key value pairs within that hash.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. So even though there's a lot of stuff going on in here, this whole hash is the single value for my dog key. So there's 2 key value pairs. Awesome. So how about, what if I want to access this value of 15 pounds? Everyone take a minute and kind of walk through how you would do that, and then I'll ask someone to help me out. Hey, Zach, do you want to help me out with how I can access this value of 15 pounds?
So I was kind of thinking you would do pets bracket 1, and then I was kind of thinking you would do bracket 2 next to that.
Okay.
Or hang on. Oh wait, sorry, bracket 1 again. I'm sorry. But I feel like that would pull out the entire key value pair. So
yeah, let's see what happens when we press this. It doesn't work. So let's think about this backwards a little bit. So if we just wanted to access this value of 15 pounds from this hash, how would we do that?
So I guess do pets bracket cat.
Ooh, okay. So pets bracket cat, what will that give me?
It's going to give the entire hash with name Sassy, weight 15 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a step closer to where the value we're trying to target. So awesome. So what would we need to do to this hash to get that value of 15 pounds?
Add a bracket with weight after cat. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, because this this right here, this expression will return this hash. So now we can do our chaining because those brackets are still methods. So this is still chaining methods. And now we can query that weight key to get back our 15 pounds. Awesome. Great job. Okay, let's do one more. What if I wanted to add a new key value pair to dogs? So what if I wanted to add the key of age to the value of the key of dog? Take a minute, everyone, think for a second about how you would do this. And then I'll ask someone to help me. Brian, what do you think? Do you want to come off mute and help me add my key of age 3 to the value of dog?
Yeah. Wouldn't it just be, wouldn't it kind of be the same, except since you're adding something, it'd be like pets, and then symbol dog, and then symbol age equals 3.
Okay, so let's try it. Oh, well, that just showed me the return value of that. So now we need to check our pets hash again. And yeah, awesome. So that's right there. So that was great. So again, remember pets dog returns to us the hash, this hash right here, because it returns the value of that key. So now within that hash, we can just use the foundational methods that we talked about in our warm-up to add a new key, to set a new key value pair into that hash. Garrett, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if there's a way, I guess when you have like a hash within a hash, right? It's not an array, so you can't access anything via index values. So it sounds like from what we've done so far, like you have to know what the different hashes, what the actual like name is of the various hashes. Is there a way similar to what you do with an array where if you just want to access like the last hash in the total amount of hashes you have, that you could do that? Or is it you kind of have to do it the way we've been doing it and you have to know explicitly what you're searching for?
Sure. Garrett, I'm going to answer your question with a question. Typical, right? In an array, does order matter?
Yeah. Oh, array order doesn't matter with a hash, whereas it does with a array.
Correct.
Like, yeah.
That's correct. So in a hash, the order of the key value pairs does not matter. And so the way we query a hash is with that unique key. So we do need to know the name of the key. It's not going to say like, okay, give me the 5th key value pair. It might give you something, but it is not going to be consistent because the order does not matter in a hash. Whereas in an array, your whatever's at element 5 is always going to be at element 5 unless you physically move it. Okay, great question. Jake, do you have a question?
Yeah, mine was actually hopping back to your food feelings.
Sure.
Is there a way, sort of kind of like dot flatten, if you wanted to combine these hashes into one inside your array?
Good question. Well, I think I'm just trying it now because, you know, when you think about something, you should just try it. That didn't do anything. Do you know why it didn't do anything, or did it change anything?
I mean, I think that's more of just with nested arrays.
Yeah, because remember, flatten will take a nested array and make it what's called one-dimensional, which means there's no arrays inside the array. But this is just an element, so it's already flattened. If you had a situation where each element was a hash and you wanted to combine it, you could definitely write some code to do that for you.
Okay.
These are slightly trivial examples, but that's okay. All right, George, did you have a question? I knew your hand was up and then you took it down.
Oh, well, I was just going to say maybe you could do like 2 array for those hashes and then flatten, and that might be able to like do Jake's example.
I don't think you'd have any hashes then though. Regardless, I think there's ways you could do it. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today. We won't have time. I want to get to the other content. So, but great question. And yes, there's definitely code you could write to do that. Maybe like an enumerable or something. All right, let's take a palm and then we'll come back and do some more breakout rooms to explore some more nested structures. So we'll take 5.
Thank you. 29. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Hope. I still
Yes.
appreciate you do that. Okay, let's come back together. Right, and well, actually, I'll ask first. Did any questions come up that you thought of over the palm? Oh, look at George's kitty. So cute. Okay, so let's go into breakout rooms just for a couple minutes to practice one more example. The person who owns the most pets needs to be the driver or the screen sharer. No, let's not do that one. Let's do whoever's birthday is next. I feel like that will take less time to figure out. So whoever's birthday is next, please share your screen and make sure you really think about and understand and pull apart the question, because we'll discuss it when we come back together. So it's in your Slack channel. Sorry, go ahead.
Kat, how does that count if your birthday is today?
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Then, oh goodness, I didn't think about that situation. Then you get to be the one who screen shares. How's that?
Alrighty then.
Birthday gift to yourself is that learning. So, so I think we're all back together. Let's talk about it. So, Sean, let's go with you since you were Sean with EU, since you were the lucky person to come back. Tell me about pizzaveggies.count. What is going on with that one this time?
Yeah, so we looked at how many keys there were since it was counting the key value pairs.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought that would return 3.
Yes. Is that what happened when you tried it? Okay.
Yes, it was.
Perfect. Yes. Definitely what I would expect as well, because remember, .count in a hash is counting your key value pairs. So usually just counting like the number of keys you have will give you that that answer. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, how about Sean with an E? Pizza toppings dot values. What did you get for this one, or what did you think that this would return?
So we were thinking, like the other Sean was saying, looking at each key value pair, it's going to return each value from those keys. So it's each of the arrays. So the veggies array, the protein array, and the fruit array.
Yeah. So what do we get back when I press enter right now? What are we going to get back?
You're going to get those arrays within another array.
Yeah, so now we have a nested array, which is what we started this whole lesson with, right? So even doing the dot values here on a nested structure, we get back another nested structure. So it's always good to know what you get back so you can know how to navigate the return value. Awesome, thanks so much. And since we're on a Sean roll, how about Sean with the duh? How do we, I only say that because you said that, Shonda, just so you know. I would never normally say
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. So how can I access the element of pineapple?
Yeah, so we did pizza toppings calling the key fruit, so the symbol fruit, and then calling the first element in that array, so 0. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you for going that extra step too, to get just the string of pineapple, right? Because you could just stop here and get back the value of fruit, which is an array holding the string of pineapple, but the directions asked for just the string of pineapple. So great job paying attention to detail there and going that step further into the array to pull out that element. Awesome, great job. And I don't have any more Seans to call on for the fourth one, so we'll go with Carson. Carson, how can I add the element olives to my key of veggies?
So I would do pizza toppings, square brackets, symbol veggies. And since the value of veggies is an array, I would shovel in the string of olives.
Awesome. Why can we do that?
Because the return, like not the return value, because the value is an array and the key is set to the value, it knows that it's shoveling it into the value.
Mm-hmm. And it is, you did say the right word, it is about return values, right? Because pizza topping, that square bracket is still a veggie. It's still a method that has a return value. Right? So if we call this on our hash, we query the key of veggies, the return value is an array, So we can take that knowledge that this is going to return an array and then use the shovel operator, which will work on an array, to just shovel in the next item that we want. Awesome. Any questions come up during that breakout session? I don't have my participants tab. Okay, no one raised their hand anyways. All right, so what I really want to stress here, we're going to do one more breakout room, but what I really want to stress is that we're just building on those foundations of from our warm up, if I could pull that up real quick, right, of these query methods and these manipulation methods of the arrays and the hashes. We're just building them onto the return values. So for every tiny piece or every method that you have, really force yourself to think about what is the return value of this method, and then how can I chain on that, and how can I chain on that? Garrett, go ahead.
Yeah, for the adding the olives one, I did, well, another way I thought about it was like just doing pizza toppings dot values at index 0, shoveling in olives, which works. Is that just considered less efficient?
Wait, pizza toppings
dot values?
Oh, dot values?
Index 0.
Yes. Well, so here's the thing with that is, again, what you're relying on here is the order of the key value pairs, right? Because you're saying, I want the first for values, I want that first values to be the veggies key. And it might not be, because order does not matter in that hash. So whenever you query a hash, you want to be very specific and query the exact key that you want.
Yep. Cool. That's
Awesome.
helpful.
Good question. All right, perfect. So this next one, we're going to do breakout rooms. We're going to utilize some Ruby exercises. So if you've already done them, great. You can still contribute to the conversation, right? To really explore these nested structures. And if not, that is okay. We're going to work through it together. Well, you will with your breakout rooms. Let me recreate these. Okay, who should screen share? The person whose first name is alphabetically first in the alphabet. Yes, does that make sense? Like in English today? Okay, rooms are open. Oops, I forgot to. Okay, we're good with our rooms. I'm really sorry I had to abruptly bring you back. There was some really good conversation and exploration going on in some of those breakout rooms. I was really, really sad to end them, but you know, it's 11:58. We kind of got to keep moving. So I just want to close out with some questions. So did anything funky come up or anything unclear come up as you were going through these nested, this nested test? There's not a lot of questions today. This must be a very clear topic for all of you. If it's not though, now you know where you can go to practice more, right? Is in these Ruby exercises. John, you came off mute. Do you have a question?
Oh, no, it wasn't a question. It's just a personal for me type dealy, but
yeah.
It's not that it was easy or anything. I just think that the pattern of you giving us time to work on it and then going over it has really helped clarify things and made it easy to understand.
Yeah, so hopefully, because this is the idea, like watching someone code, you're like, yeah, I get it. But then when you go to do it, you might freeze up and be like, I thought I got it. But until you actually do it and play with it and explore, it's hard to know how to actually do the thing you're learning. So I definitely encourage you, if you didn't get through this test, to go continue either, you know, with a group or by yourself, continue through this Ruby exercise. There's another one called advanced nested data structures. So if you got through this one and you want even more practice, go to that advanced nested data structures and go through that one. So I hope though that you saw though that this is all we're doing is building upon return values and then just using those foundational methods that we used in the warm-up to navigate through these hashes and these arrays. Okay, but the key is is the method chaining in Ruby. Always knowing what your return value is and how you can work it, with that specific return value. So if you want an array, if we have an array, and we want to work with like this array, for example, how do we get to that array? First of all, we've got to query the key of days, but then we want to get to the second element, but this is just an array. So we know we can use our index notation of bracket 1 to get to that second element, and then that returns us a hash. So then if we want the number 55, we just query that hash with query the key, and we know how to do that. Right? So it's really just about this repetition and tying everything together. All right, 12:01, we did pretty good on time. So that's all I've got for you. Enjoy your lunch. We'll come back for Mocks and Stubs with Meg at 1 o'clock.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you.